Hey, Michael Church, Crawl Space Ninja. I am in a crawl space. We're going to do a crawl space inspection and go through this house in Sevier County, which is in Tennessee. And we're going to show you some of the things that we found in the inspection. And then later we're going to take care of the crawl space and do an after video of what it all looks like. So stay tuned. So if you're new to Crawl Space Ninja, we talk about everything related to crawl space encapsulation, waterproofing, and indoor air quality. We hope you'll subscribe to our channel, ring that notifications bell, follow us on Facebook, check out our DIY store and our franchise opportunity. So as I mentioned, this is a small cabin that we're doing up in Sevier County, Tennessee in Wares Valley. And I got Craig here with me, and he's the one that did the inspection on the cabin. And we're going to go through a few things. And number one is all of the active ventilation or the foundation vent fans were dead. This is an open or vented crawl space with just your, basic black 6 mil plastic that was laid down. It's got a lot of debris and got the step down footers, and you got water intrusion coming in from the outside. It's a fairly cold day, even though it's in April. Humidity's kind of low, but we still got moisture issues, and some of the joists are mid to high levels of moisture. So we're going to do what we call a platinum, which is basically installing a water management system with a sump pump, soda blasting, installing or applying X70, and then a full encapsulation with probably an Aprilator E70, if I had to guess, dehumidifier. So we just wanted to go through and show you some video and some pictures. But one of the things that a lot of people overlook are these boots. This is a flex duct that goes into a hard metal boot, and normally this would have insulation all in it and would hide this, but with this boot being exposed, you can see where the boot itself was condensating pretty bad. Not a lot of mold in this crawl space. There's obviously some evidence of moisture problems, so maybe some microscopic mold getting started. But around these boot systems, you see a lot of discoloration of the wood, which is a good indication that you would have started a mold problem sooner in this area because of the condensation. Now, if your crawl space has insulation pushed up in there, you will not see that. So you want to make sure, if you're checking your crawl space, pull that fiberglass or that rock wool subfloor insulation out of the way, look up around these boots. There's also a nail coming through. This has got a deck on the outside right here, and that nail is super rusted. Again, if you saw that video where I talked about how to identify moisture problems without meters, that would be a good indication of something. This is something else we don't see very much in building practices anymore, but this piece of sheet metal was designed to be a termite barrier. I think they found it wasn't effective because they stopped doing it. But the theory is that the termite can't get past it and get to the wood. Obviously, I don't believe that works. They find other ways. They can crawl the outside, for example, of the house. And then you got your only piece of pressure treated wood in the entire crawl space, which is the sill plate right there. And then you got your rim joists, and as you can see, the nails and different things are all rusted from there being a water problem. So Craig, if you don't mind, go ahead and throw a meter on that foundation wall. Now Craig, is there standing water in here right now?
Not this time.
There's not any standing water in here. So imagine I'm the inspector coming to your house and checking your crawl space for a flood, and I don't see any standing water. So what are some ways that I could see a potential for a flood? And that's where the meters would come in. So there's not even a whole lot of efflorescence. There's a little bit right here. So I'm looking at this and thinking, oh, this is probably a pretty dry crawl space, right? But let's see what the meter says. So as you can see, that meter, is it pegged? Is it saying 100%?
It's close. It's
pretty 96% moist inside. Now that's a masonry setting that meter has. And that's a good way to know if you've got any kind of water buildup in the block or the concrete. So you can't always go by your eyes. Just like there's a dry spot on the mortar joint, there's another wet spot on the mortar joint. Imagine maybe you're in your crawl space and you're thinking it doesn't feel humid in here. Okay, like right now, I'm pretty comfortable. Doesn't feel humid. But what does the humidity say, Craig?
They were bouncing at 49 and 50.
49 and 50%. So now, there's been no heat or no AC ran. We're still kind of coming out of winter, so there's no AC running. So what's going to happen in this crawl space, Craig, in July?
It's going to have a lot of humidity.
Have a lot of humidity, which is probably why they took the subfloor insulation out. It was probably really moist down here at one point, and they pulled that out. And you can see they threw down some new black vapor barrier over the old plastic just to kind of probably cover up some bare spots, but they've not really done a whole lot of work down here. They left their roofing felt and shingles and, you know, all kinds of stuff down here. So it's going to be interesting to see this when it's all done. Okay, so right here you're seeing you pulled the vapor barrier back. Most inspectors are not going to pull the plastic back to look at the dirt underneath. But Craig, tell us what we're looking at right here.
So what we're looking at in this video shot here is a cascading footer. Cascading footers propose a couple obstacles when you are doing a water management system in a crawl space. There's a footer underneath this part, but to go with the grade, they have started what we call cascading because it actually starts off as a high point and ends in a low point. But where it's higher, you can see where it steps down here, there is an actual hole where you can see daylight. And with the mud line, you can see that the water has been several inches high. And most inspectors might miss that if they wouldn't have pulled this back. The reason this is a concern is you obviously can't break the footer and put drainage tile in it without structural integrity of the wall being compromised. So we would have to come out of this and come next to it, which does cause more labor. So that's something good to catch. Now you not only have percolating water that could come underneath the footer, which is highly unlikely in this situation, but now if we have groundwater, it can come in at the joint where the block is laid directly on top of the footer, or in this case where they got a little sloppy when they were laying the block for the foundation and left a 3-inch gap there. And you can see daylight through this hole, so water obviously it just comes in at any time and every time it rains.
So, you know, in an instance like this, we recently got a comment on YouTube about putting the footer drain on the inside footer. And if you did that, you wouldn't be burying the pipe in this scenario, especially on this upper footer. So what you want to do, like Craig said, is you want to bring your dig point inside the crawl space a little bit and bury the pipe next to the footer, okay? And use gravity to your advantage. It's actually higher in that corner, so the pipe will run all the way down through here, and then we're going to put the sump pump in that corner, okay? So try to let gravity do as much work for you as you can, but sometimes you'll actually have to dig beside the footer and not put it on the footer. You don't see any reason to fill this in, do you, to level anything out? There's no advantage to that.
Oh, it's got a good slope down to where the pump's going to be at, you know. If anything, we'll take dirt from here and backfill
that in,
just to make the plastic and
right.
when people's crawling not to fall in it. Some of this is due to the erosion of just water purely straighten in, and it's not got a dramatic slope to the inside of the ground, but it does have enough to where obviously water will make its way to the door without a lot of help.
Yeah, so here we got a natural slope, so the water's going to flow a little better, but it may not be necessary for you to have a high pitch rate to your pipe, because it's going to make its way to the sump pump as it fills up inside of the drainage tile. It's going to make its way to the sump pump. Now we use the NDS, which has already got the aggregate and the sock around it, so we don't have to bring in a lot of gravel or anything like that. But some people prefer to use gravel and a perforated corrugated pipe with a sock around it. So whatever your preference is, you could do it the same way. But my point is you don't have to actually put it on the footer. You can put it beside the footer. All right, so this is something else we see quite a bit. Not only do we have a lot of spider webs and different things like that in here, which, you know, again, a moist crawl space is going to be an attractant to bugs and spiders, and eventually the mice are going to come in, and then the snakes come in. So, you know, if you didn't have all this subfloor insulation, we don't see any mice or anything in here right now because they were probably nesting up there before they took it out, but we still got spider activity. We've also got a leak on the outside. We need some flashing fixes on the outside, which is why this block is so wet, I believe, on the inside, or at least discolored the way it is. I think this is all from outside. But one of the other things that I wanted to point out, see, this isn't sitting on the foundation wall. So this stops right here. So we're going to need to put a post jack to support this side, and there's a good chance we need one on the other side as well. But you want to make sure that these guys are actually supported on the foundation wall, and if they're not, you can pretty easy fix. Get everything dried out and then put a post jack here, because if you put it in before it dries out and the wood shrinks, then your post jack's off. So, or jack post, whatever you all call them. some kind of foundation support. Doesn't seem to be any major wood damage or anything, so I don't think we need to do any sistering of joists or anything, but something like this can affect these pipes and everything else. If this starts to fall and they've drilled through the wood, that can shift the pipe and cause it to burst. The other thing you notice is behind me, this we talk about a lot, big hole gets cut out or a big square for a round ductwork, and then you got all this gap that comes, and guess what comes through the gap? You can get possums and skunks and squirrels and everything else. We saw squirrel activity over there. So I've seen leaf litter be brought in through these gaps and a big mama possum be hanging out, defending her nest up in the subfloor insulation. So what we're going to do is we're going to seal this from the inside with some foam board, and then put our vapor barrier around it, tape it real good. Obviously, foam board and plastic can be pushed through by rodents, but it's a really good deterrent. A lot of times they'll give up before they have a chance to get through. So you might want to do some precautionary fix on the outside, maybe with some rock wool or something like that, or call your varmint guys about how to stop those, I think they call it exclusion areas on the outside of the house. But we're going to do all we can on the inside too to make sure that this isn't an issue with critters coming in and out as well. Something else we see a lot in crawl spaces, and believe it or not, this is one of those real easy things to cover up. You want to make sure your crawl space company, there's a lot of wood debris, and Alex Woolery and I did a video recently about contractors cleaning up the crawl space floor, and obviously somebody got down here and threw a lot of wood on the ground. And remember, this is a termite attractant. Not only will it attract termites, but it'll rot with wood decay fungus, and then it gets everywhere. And if your joists or whatever get wet, then that wood decay fungus can affect those joists too. So make sure that your contractor is cleaning out underneath all, anything that can grow mold. You can't, obviously, big rocks and stuff is okay. You can put plastic over them, but we talk about gravel and using an underlayment to help protect the plastic, but you got to get as much of this organic material out as possible, or it's going to create a mold problem in the future. We hope you enjoyed us taking you through this pre-inspection video before we do the work. And I'm Michael Church, Crawl Space Ninja. We hope you like this video down below, and stay tuned to see what this looks like after. Make it a happy and blessed day, and we'll see you later.